Gotham Geek Girl here, and let's talk about the upcoming DC film Blue Beetle, which is DC's first Latino movie superhero and the 14th installment in the DC Extended Universe. I'll get into what worked, what could have been better, and briefly talk about the comics. So I hope I'm saying this correctly. Xolo Maridueña plays a recent college graduate who gets an armored suit and really cool superpowers when an alien Scarab bonds with him in the latest superhero summer film. So first, let me say that this movie is super entertaining and an admirable introduction of the character to the DCU, and it's an exciting film that it gets credit for having actual consequences. It encompasses themes of family, displacement, responsibility, and culture, and it is so authentically Latino. Audiences will be cracking up at all the references and sayings and inside jokes. Blue Beetle is an upcoming American superhero film based on the DC character Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle, produced by DC Studios and the Saffron Company. The film was directed by Angel Manuel Soto and written by Gareth Donet Alcocer. Soto was hired to direct the film back in February of 2021, and it was originally set to premiere on the streaming service HBO Max. Maridueña was cast back in August, and the film was changed to have a theatrical release, and I'm really glad it got a theater release. It deserved it. So after Jaime Reyes graduates from college, he returns to his hometown, Palmetto City, and he's chosen to become a symbiotic host to the Scarab, which is an ancient alien biotechnical relic, and it grants like a powerful exoskeleton armor, which turns him into the superhero. So the film stars Xolo as Jaime Reyes, and alongside Adriana Barraza, Damien Alcazar, Raul Max Trujillo, Susan Sarandon, and George Lopez. So I love that there's so much Spanish spoken in the film. Xolo is absolutely charming. He's well cast, and he blends so well with his on-screen family. They really feel like an actual Latino family. Abuelita effortlessly steals the show. You will love her. Theo George Lopez will have you falling out of your seat. I'll get more to the family and the cast in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the character of Blue Beetle, which actually wasn't originally a DC character. The character first appeared in Mystery Men comics way back in 1939, created by Charles Nicholas Wachowski, and over time, it's become 3 different characters and iterations with Dan Garrett, Ted Kord, and now Jaime Reyes. So Jaime was introduced back in 2006, and he was a teenager whose powers are derived from the Scarab, which is now revealed as a piece of advanced alien technology. So he was the 3rd Blue Beetle, and he discovers that the original Blue Beetle Scarab morphs into a battle suit, allowing him to fight crime and travel in space. And over the years, Jaime becomes a member of like the Teen Titans. He starred in 2 major Blue Beetle comic series, the New 52 reboot, and he was a primary Blue Beetle character. And they occasionally like refer to the past versions, with the subsequent continuity revision DC Rebirth, and the previous versions actually came back. But Jaime actually still remains the primary Blue Beetle for DC Comics. They're familiar with the comics will know Jaime. So his limited series, Blue Beetle Graduation, written by Josh Trujillo and illustrated by Adrian Gutierrez. So the superheroes appeared in other media as well, all 3 of the incarnations actually. So Ted Kord appeared in Smallville, the episode of Booster. And Jaime Reyes, Ted Kord, and Dan Garrett, all 3 incarnations appeared in Batman the Brave and the Bold. In 2010, Jeff Johns actually announced a live-action TV series featuring the Jaime Reyes incarnation of Blue Beetle with Garrett Plotkin in the title role, but no further announcements ever came about. And then Jaime Reyes, Ted Kord, and Dan Garrett, they also appeared in Young Justice. Jaime Reyes has appeared in many DC Universe animated original movies, such as Justice League vs. Teen Titans. He also appeared in like other animated movies such as Teen Titans: The Judas Contract, Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War, and the Jaime Reyes incarnation of Blue Beetle also appears as a playable character in Injustice 2. But now the beloved Latino will get his own film, and the film is being marketed as DC's first Latino movie superhero. And this is super important for representation, and it's done correctly. In the comics, Jaime is a teenager who lives in El Paso, Texas. So the movie changes things up a little bit. He lives with his father, his mother, and his little sister, and his father owns a garage, and his mother's a nurse. So Jaime has offered to help his father out at the garage, and his father turns him down, and he wants Jaime to enjoy himself and get like a great education. So in the comic, he finds a Scarab in a vacant lot, and it actually fuses with him while he's sleeping. So they change things up a little bit. The movie does take some creative liberties, but it's nothing crazy. And there's no mention of Booster Gold, but who knows? Maybe we'll see these 2 in Guns universe, which I'm hoping that would be really funny to see. So the film was actually shot in studios in Atlanta, but they also did a lot of filming in El Paso and Puerto Rico. So it does feel really natural. And the film is set in a fictional place called Palmetto City, which was originally created for the film rather than El Paso, Texas, which was featured in the comics. So the director Soto said that this was to create a world specific to Jaime Reyes on a similar level to, like, say, Metropolis for Superman and how Batman has Gotham. He wanted to really help his, like, position his character as his own leader in this new DC based franchise. And hopefully Gunn and Safran will continue to use him in the DCU timeline. We're not really sure, but Soto explained that the creative team created the city as a metropolitan of Latinos, and that the city was divided into two parts. So we have Reyes neighborhood and the affluent financial district. And he also identified Reyes' upbringing as more humble, and his family had come from the working class, and they've been struggling, which we really see in the movie. And he's a part of a marginalized community under the threat of gentrification, which is a very prevalent theme in this. There's other themes that are heavily influenced the film and characters and their motivations, as Jaime will always put his family first. The film does a great job of showcasing Latino family strength, endurance, and tenacity. So back in October of 2021, Soto said featured the Latino family at its core. So they wanted the family aspect of the film and the characters to be inherent to the comics, but explore things that haven't really been explored with other superhero films. He didn't just want it to be another typical, like, saving the world story. Instead, he wanted to explore his growth, and saying that Reyes is not just going to save the world yet. He's not really ready. Soto and Dunnet Alcocer had decided to do so by taking more of a grounded approach towards his character while exploring his relationship with his family and Kajida, the symbiotic alien that provides Reyes' powers. So Soto also took inspiration from the New 52 comics, Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, and the film features Reyes' family witnessing his first transformation into Blue Beetle. The intention was like, very amusing. It felt Latino, like our families are very nosy and they always want to know what's going on. They're always there. So it's kind of funny that he wanted to show this aspect, and they really wanted the film to be fun, which it definitely does. Another focus was, like, the pronunciation of names in the film, and they included a scene in which Victoria Court, our villain, she keeps calling an employee Sanchez, and that's not his name. So they decided to include this scene to show that Latinos are not a monolith, with Soto further adding that the audience would feel the warmth of Reyes' family and become familiarized with them in the first act. And we definitely do. We become attached to them. And Xolo Maridueña as Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle. He's a teenage college graduate who gained superpowers from the alien Blue Beetle Scarab, and he forms a powerful reconfiguring exoskeleton around his body. So Xolo was Soto's first choice to portray Reyes, and Soto explained this as, like, he couldn't stop seeing Maridueña as a character. And since he was hired to direct the film after enjoying his performance in Cobra Kai, he noted that he has experience in martial arts, so that would help him with this role. And so Soto and Warner Brothers offered him the role back in August of 2021, and it was publicly revealed in talks for the film the next day, and it was actually announced at the premiere for the Suicide Squad 2021. So when learning of the role, Maridueña was most excited that Reyes is a Latino character and he could bring Latino representation to a superhero project, which he actually does a phenomenal job. He brings a real, like, charming and youthful, hyperactive persona to Jaime, and there are many similarities and predictable, like, young superhero tropes, similar to, say, like, Spider-Man and Ms. Marvel, which it distinctly takes inspiration from those, like, enthusiastic heroes with the its depiction of Jamie. But I mean, come on, what young adult wouldn't be that excited to get superpowers? Jaime is the hero, and all of us as family is our biggest motivation. And him experiencing these moments with his family is also equally hilarious and so Latino, as I mentioned before. My grandma, she would have been the first one to realize it. At first, Amy is at odds with the Blue Beetle Scarab, with whom he shares a mind telepathically, which I could not believe it's superstar Becky G. She voices Kajira, and she's the entity that imbues and controls the Scarab. So it's interesting that when they actually, later on in the film, when they work in tandem, the Scarab starts to speak Spanish and they move more in sync. I still can't believe it's Becky G. But Bruna Marquezine portrays Jenny Cord, who's Victoria's niece and Ted's daughter, and she's also Jaime's love interest. So Jenny and Jaime have great chemistry, and she reveals some secrets of her childhood and her past. And she should have mentioned these things a little early on, like when we learn who her father actually was. And she's technically to blame for Jaime's predicament, as she selfishly got him into this situation. But she does a great job playing Jenny, who's a billionaire with a heart and a moral compass, and she really shows this through her actions to protect Jaime's family. She's not selfish like her aunt. And the big surprise was Jaime's entire family actually came to save him, which is something you never see typically in the superhero genre. They all had their own personas and way of expressing their love for Jaime. Adriana Barraza absolutely shines as Nana, Jaime's grandmother, abuela, who absolutely steals the show with her secret past and take charge badassery. A lot of grandmas in Latino culture are strong and independent and take matters into their own hands types of woman. She was definitely like my favorite. Damien Alcazar plays Alberto Reyes, who's Jaime's father, and he serves as the emotional climatic superhero, kind of like Uncle Ben moment, with his rise to power like a cliche arc. But ultimately, audiences will absolutely feel for this loss. George Lopez shines as Rudy Reyes, Jaime's crazy Theo that has been prepping for this his entire life. He brings a solid comedic touch to the film with natural humor. You will be falling out of your seat. Other members of the Reyes family include Alpiria Carrillo as Rosia Reyes, Jaime's mother, and Belisa Escobedo as Milagro Reyes, Jaime's younger sister. Belisa's perfect. She's snarky, she's sarcastic. She's a great younger sister, and I love their banter. And she'll take any chance to crack a joke, but she loves her brother. And Soto said he wanted to create an authentic Mexican family with real accents and experiences, and also wanted the elder members of the family to be portrayed by beloved Mexican actors from Latin American cinema, who had also crossed over to the United States and paved the way for members of younger generations. Well, let's get to the villains. So it's a little bit by the book, evil like billionaire truism. Raul Max Trujillo, who you might remember from Apocalypto or Mayans, who plays Conrad Carapax. So he's the indestructible man, a bodyguard that works for Victoria Cord, and we learn that he's kind of a tool and a weapon of Victoria's, and he's been traumatized and weaponized, and you kind of start to feel for his character. Susan Sarandon, on the other hand, you can't stand her, and she's the avaricious leader, Victoria Cord. And Sharon Stone was actually originally in talks to play Victoria Cord, but I enjoyed Sarandon's performance. And she was believed to be the wife of Ted Cord, who was actually the second Blue Beetle in the comics. And she plays a businesswoman. Her character was actually made up for the film. She's a sister of Ted Cord, who's hell bent on acquiring the Scarab. Sarandon says Victoria represents the theme of imperialism in the name of democracy, and that she's driven by a need to be ambitious and to prove herself after her brother mysteriously disappears and leaves his company behind. Although her villain origin was pretty safe and cliche, this was a great way for Jaime to get to, to kind of use his powers and learn about his new responsibilities, because he's not ready to take on the world yet. This was also a great way to segue into Jenny's father, the original Blue Beetle, who may be appearing if we get a potential sequel. It was a great origin story, exciting, and it featured decent action sequences and solid visual effects. The CGI was actually really impressive this time around. The fact that they didn't rely too heavily on CGI either also worked in its favor. So Blue Beetle Seat was designed by Maze C. Rubio and the 9B Collective team. The design was inspired from his appearance in Infinite Crisis 3, The Injustice Games, Young Justice, and Batman the Brave and the Bold, and they kind of had difficulty in creating the mask to fit Maridueña's face, but also allow him to be emotive, particularly for the mouth. So the team decided to merge the designs of organic alien technology and insectoid features within his suit. His suit looks phenomenal. So the visual inspiration for Palermo City came from Akira, Neo Tokyo, and Miami, and Soto decided to insert a Nintendo Power Glove for Blue Beetle following the inclusion of a shield in the script. There's so many nerd references. My favorite scene from the trailer was actually included from the film when Jaime strikes in like anime poses. I actually loved it. It was so authentic. Fans were going crazy. Overall, it's a decent action sequences, solid visual effects, but however, the performances and unique vision of director Angel Manuel Soto and the script really made the movie a delight to watch. And I do like that it actually had consequences, unlike Marvel lately. Authentically Latino and great in terms of representation. We do need to support these movies, so go see it. And it could be a little silly and predictable and tame, but overall it's a blast, and it's a fun family flick that appeals to a younger audience. Don't forget to stay for 200 credit scenes, although some may not get the reference. The movie was a $120 million budget. It's rated PG-13 due to action, violence, and suggestive language. Although it's not extremely violent, and it could be considered kid-friendly, kind of like a step up from Spy Kids in terms of violence, just maybe not under the age of 8. But the movie's in theaters this Friday. Definitely go check it out.